Hi there, and welcome back to our third episode of Bluebeam Essentials. Apologies for the delay in getting this episode to you. Been a bit busy time over the last week or so. But today we're going to be looking at measurements, and we're going to be looking at some of the tool sets and some of these toolbars. We may not cover them all within this episode, but we're just going to look at some of the more essential ones. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got a drawing which hopefully you guys should recognise. One of the drawings that we used in the last video. This was the one that was created on Magic Plan. Again, you can see the videos on my YouTube channel about Magic Plan and how to use it. Hopefully those of you that have seen it have downloaded the app and hopefully have had a bit of a play around and may well find it useful. So, first thing we're going to look at is obviously some of the measurement tools that you have within Bluebeam, and this will enable you to do a number of different things, whether it's measuring particular elements of a room, doing a total measure of the room, square footage, obviously understanding the size of various elements and other bits and pieces. There are a lot of tools in here that may be of use or may not be of use. It just depends on what sort of level you're operating at. Okay, so there are two areas where you can obviously locate all of the measuring tools. The first one is up on your top menu bar here. You click on Tools, and then you've got Measure, and there are a number of different tools here that you can use. There are a couple, unfortunately, that probably aren't going to be of any use to anyone. Also, because I've never had to use them, and that's these two here: the polygon cutout and the ellipse cutout. Not really entirely sure what they do, and I think that might be when you're working on 3D type models and other bits and pieces. So we'll kind of start from the top and work our way down. Obviously, if you've got all the toolbars open like I have here, then obviously these toolbars are replicated along the top. Obviously, these toolbars here are editable, and you can move them around, to where you want them to be. So we'll obviously start. We'll go through the tools menu here because we can start from the top and work our way down. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at within the measure is obviously the calibrate tool. Now you should be aware of this already because this is quite a decent tool that we use to try and to calibrate the scale of our drawing, so that obviously all the measurements work out. Now, this drawing that we've got here obviously isn't a scale drawing in the sense of one that's been given to you by someone who's created it in CAD. I've just created this as part of another program. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the calibrate tool to actually calibrate the drawing to ensure that all the measurements are correct. So if you click on the calibrate, and obviously it brings up this particular bar here on the left hand side, and then if we click on the drawing, you'll see that you've got a little crosshair and a little box that is kind of sticking to the points in the drawing. Just down here on the bottom, you'll notice that there are a couple of little kind of tool boxes and toolbars that can be highlighted or not. This first one here, I know we're just digressing slightly, but if you click on this actually shows a grid, which might give you a little bit more support in trying to create those kind of straight lines. And there is a little tip with straight lines, which I will show you. I have attempted to do it on the last two videos, but when I do it, the video gets cut off. So I will show you how to do that. So you can obviously have the grid showing. Then this next one is what's called snap to grid. And what that means is if you're trying to do place a symbol or some sort, it will automatically try and snap to the elements of the grid here. It is handy, but sometimes it can be a bit of a nightmare because you're trying to get it to line up. And as you can see, the grid lines don't necessarily line up here with the drawing. So you can have that one on or turn that one off. The next one is obviously to snap to content, which in this case, the content is this drawing. And because this drawing was kind of created using a CAD-based program, obviously every single element of this drawing has got a point that the that the software can kind of snap to. So that does actually make it quite easy when you're trying to kind of do a design, and it makes it easier to place bits and pieces. Then the second one is snap to markup. So if you've got markups on here, and again, it's similar to snap to content, in that if you've got, I don't know, let's say you've got a text box in there, it will allow you to kind of to snap to content, and it's just another way of kind of lining up all of your drawings and other bits and pieces. And then finally, the other one is to reuse markup tools. So if you're doing a markup, it will continue to kind of use them rather than you have to do a markup, then click and then do another one, then click and do another one. It just keeps the cursor from doing the same task until you decide that you've had enough. So anyway, back to kind of just calibrating our drawing. So I know this store here is 0.8 meters, so we're just going to set our scale, so 0.8 meters, and that's our calibration done. So we now know that all of these elements on here are in line with what the scale of the door is. Okay, so we'll go back up to tools and go to measure, and the first one is obviously measuring the length of a wall, which again is relatively straightforward, and apologies if you guys know this already, but it's probably best that I try and cover it all. So again, you just click on length and you have the same little cursor but with a little ruler bar, and then you just literally click, drag, and there you go, you've got a measurement for your wall, and it really is that simple. So if you're looking to kind of provide a drawing to someone and you want them to know what the measurements are, because they might not have Bluebeam or they might not have the joys of having a scale drawing, you can literally just measure up every single corner and give someone an idea of what the size of the room is. And those measurements are 99.9% accurate, because obviously this was drawn out. It's not a real building, obviously, but it was drawn out in order to to provide what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so again, that element is relatively straightforward. Okay, so the next measurement tool we've got is Polylith. Now this is actually quite good for measuring, more so for, I suppose, people, if you're running pipes or running cable and you want to know how to get from here to there around the wall, and you don't want to do a measurement there, then have to do one there. You can literally click, 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 then to that corner, down to there, double click, and as you can see, it's 18.92 meters, and it gives you each individual kind of measurement for each individual part. So that's quite handy, especially if you're doing, especially in the fire industry. If you're doing air sampling pipe work, you're looking to kind of do a measure of cable, maybe about, where the cable's got to go, and you're trying to do a measure. It is possible to do it with Polylith, provided that you follow the right process. I'm pretty certain that it does work if I was to, to kind of, that's where I'm running my cable. You can do it that way as well. So that's actually quite a good little tool if you need to use it. I mean, sprinkler guys, mechanical, maybe quite useful for giving you guys a bit of an estimate of the amount of pipe work that you're going to need. The only thing it doesn't obviously provide is your horizontal drops and what have you. But if you know that a room's 3 meters high, you can make those adjustments and allowances. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of those ones. Okay, so the next one on the toolbar is, self-explanatory. It's just a measurement tool for measuring your area. So you obviously have the same cursor with a little measurement tool in it, and just bear with me. I'm just going to, I think what you're doing is you're drawing around the area that you want to measure. So we're going to go to this corner, then we're going to go up to here, up to there, and then to finish on there. And as you can see, 77.89 square meters. Again, a relatively straightforward and simple little tool to kind of give you an idea of square footage, especially if you're trying to do a budget price and you've got an idea that it's going to cost you 10 quid a square metre to install whatever it is you're installing. Just use that tool, do a quick kind of meterage, and it should be relatively straightforward to kind of come up with a rough estimate of cost. So again, relatively self-explanatory. And then the next one that we've got on here is perimeter, which, if I'm honest, I've never used before, but I believe it's fairly similar to the area. But we can, I think this is based on doing a perimeter. Yeah, so it's fairly similar to some of the other measurement tools, to be honest, where it's just giving you an idea of what the total perimeter length is. So if you've got a drawing where you're trying to kind of do a long cable run, that's probably quite a handy tool, especially if you're running alongside a perimeter. Just one thing that I wanted to kind of highlight is obviously on the left hand side here, within this measurement toolbar on these toolbars down here, you can change all of the relevant information that you need. You can set whether it's square meters, square foot, and so on. You can do it to split it to show different segment values, but obviously you've got to make sure that obviously the calibration is correct. So yeah, that one is relatively similar. It may have some benefit to people, but again, it's a relatively straightforward little tool. So one of I think the tools that you'll find useful is going to be your center radius tool, which is this one here, and this is really what is used by especially in the fire industry, or you're looking to kind of determine a kind of measure of coverage, circular coverage. So 7.5 meters for a smoke detector. This is how you would do it. So you select your tools, go to measure, go to center radius, and then you just need to set your pretty much spot on. So there you go. There is your 7.5 meter circular coverage. So obviously you've got your center point. So that's really where you're going to put your detector. So as you can see on this drawing here, we can tell straight away that just having a detector in the middle of the warehouse is more than enough coverage. So you can really kind of set that to suit where you want it to go. Some rooms you can kind of determine as and where they need to go. What I will do is I'm just going to try and find a drawing that's a lot bigger, just to show you how we use it to kind of design a system. Just a quick look, because I am going to cover the design side of fire and other bits in a bit more detail in another video, so just bear with me 1 second. Right, okay, sorry about that. Right, so I'm just going to show you quickly. Let me just do Control-C and copy that. I just need to calibrate this drawing because this one is 1 to 200. Okay, apply to that page range. Great. So this is a kind of larger kind of site really. So as you can see here, we've got a hall like a school hall. And then I can Control V in there. Actually, that didn't work because I've calibrated the drawing. So if I go to Tools, go to Measure, go to Center Radius, and then we'll just try and set that so that it's zoom it here a bit. So it can be a little bit niggly to try and get it spot on some drawings. So what I would probably suggest is that you get it as close as you can. So we've got 7.48 there, and then if you go on the left hand side here to Properties, click on there, and if you scroll down here to where it says Document Height, you just need to just increase that slightly. So that's 5558. So as you can see now, I've got it to 7.5. Okay, so we've got our measurement here, and this drawing is scaled. So we can see straight away that we're definitely going to need more than one detector in there. So the easiest way to do this, and obviously the more experienced you are, then the easier it is, to kind of to know how many detectors you need, is to space out these circles. So we'll just go Control C, and then Control V. Oh, no, wrong one. We need to click on that one. Control C, so we can copy that, and then Control V. So we've got another one here. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the amount of kind of blind spots. As you can see here, we've got a little blind spot there. So we just maybe want to move this one up here slightly. Just bring that across a bit. Just try and, I mean, it's always good to try and maybe align the detectors so that they sit. So as you can see, we're pretty much got no blind spots there. But obviously we need to cover this area now, so we're just going to do Control V again and bring up, I don't know what's happened there. Control V. And then we're going to do the same again. And what we want to try and do is to try and get our detection kind of covering as close to those kind of corners as we can. So it can be quite, well, it's not tricky, it's just, you know, getting it in the right place. Control V again. But as you can see, you know, although we kind of got it all lined up, we have still got a couple of, well, we've got one kind of major blind spot, which is right here in the middle. So you're going to need 4 detectors, but in reality, you probably need 5. You know, so that's one of the benefits of this circular tool, is that you can just create your kind of designs and have a play around with them and move them around and get them to fit. And I always recommend maybe keeping a kind of copy, you know, with your design drawings, because it's always good to go back and have another look. So yeah, so that's kind of you know, one of the main tools that you'll use if you're in the life safety industry. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of that. So we're now back to obviously this drawing here, and we'll get rid of that. So that is pretty much the toolbars, or the toolbar, sorry, the measurement tools. Some of them relatively straightforward. They'll all have their purpose and use, and hopefully they'll help you guys, you know, to kind of achieve a little bit more by using this software. Right, so what I'm just going to run through now quickly is going to be the tool sets, which are probably one of the key things for Bluebeam if you're using the software to create drawings or to add bits and pieces onto it. Now, unfortunately, Bluebeam doesn't really come with that many tool sets. There is a severe lack of tool sets in Bluebeam. Now, most of these ones here have been created by me over time, and there are probably 2 different types. You've got your design tool sets, and then you've got your takeoff tool sets. The takeoff tool sets are probably better for doing takeoffs on drawings that are pre-designed, over and above the takeoff tool that's on Bluebeam, purely because that takeoff tool is not infallible. It does struggle to find all of the devices, especially if they're hidden behind other devices. And you know what drawings are like. Sometimes they come so cluttered, it's unreal. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the tool sets that I've got here. Obviously, if you're interested in looking at these, then just drop me a message, either through YouTube. Send me an email, which is email address will be at the end of the video, or connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. These are available for purchase. You can purchase them individually, or you can buy a whole set. I do try to update them, you know, and add new ones on as and when they become, you know, viable. And obviously, I will always try and you know, update people that have got these tool sets. And obviously, if there's stuff that you're looking for, then you know, there's no issue. We know we can normally find them, or I can normally create them. So most of these are for the fire and security industry, but so we've got your kind of basic fire alarm symbols here, you know, ranging from, you know, smokes and you know, multi sensors, the ACER detector. If you're a Siemens integrator, then you'll know what they are. Your beam detectors, wall sounders, ceiling VADs and ceiling sounders, and weatherproof pads, door holders and closers and all sorts. So you can see we've pretty much captured everything in here. I've got a couple of new ones down here that I've had to create because there was someone was looking for ones with voice sounders, which is something that I haven't got. So I have created some new ones there, but I haven't put them in the right place. Yeah, so you've got your fire alarm. Just one little trick: if you're doing a design and you've got your drawing scaled, you can actually scale these symbols as well, and you just do the same. Normally, this will sit in line with the scale that you set for the drawing, but sometimes because these aren't Bluebeam tool sets, these are ones that have been created. Sometimes they can be too big or too small. So if that's the case, rather than you then having to, for instance, if you put a call point in here, rather than you having to click on that and increase the size, if I delete that now and I go here to scale and go to set scale, go to input, and then if I wanted to change that, to I don't know 1.6, then if I did the call point, you can see the call point's a little bit bigger now. So it's working with it and getting to understand how the size works on tool sets, because sometimes it can be too big or too small, and sometimes you will find that some of these letters may not sit right. I mean, it's 99% of the time it's fine, but it's just the way that the software works and the way these tool sets have been created. So you've got your fire alarm, you've got domestic fire alarm elements here. So if you were looking to do you're doing like a residential property, like a flat in a block of flats, and you're doing the communal areas and you're doing residential, you've got two separate systems there. You've got wireless, again, relatively kind of quite extensive. Then we've got air sampling, and air sampling is very good because you've got different types of panels, but you can actually, with the use of this air sampling pipe tool, you can actually map out where all your pipe work's going. So again, it's a relatively quite good tool to give you a rough idea of how much pipe work you've got, end caps and sampling points and graphics and so on. Same with linear heat. You've got linear heat cable here. Works in the same principle as what the air sampling pipework does. Obviously, voice alarm. We've got a number of different types of voice alarm speakers, microphones. We've got PA speakers in there. Your voice alarm racks, your wall-mounted racks, your PA racks, and then obviously we've got some IP type devices here, which are kind of based around an IP based PA system. So there's quite a few different types there. You've got disable refuge, again relatively straightforward. It's got your expander panel. If you're using like a Vox Ignis or a C-Tech or the Honeywell version, obviously they work off expanders. If you're using the Ball-in-Boxel system, which obviously is loop driven, then if you're using if you're putting a disabled toilet in, you need a what is called a BCRIF or an interface unit. So pretty much got everything covered here. Obviously disabled toilet elements. There is some emergency lighting bits in here. So they're relatively quite handy, especially if you're looking to do a little evacuation plan. AOV, which is one that was added in quite recently. So you've got all your AOV types in here. What else we got? So access control. As you can see, we've got pretty much all different types of elements here. This system, or these controllers, are actually based on the Grosvenor Sation or the Janus C4 system. So it's relatively the same if you were using a Paxton or you're using a Gallagher or something. I mean, they all work one way or another. So it's relatively straightforward. Again, if you were looking for a specific tool set for a particular manufacturer, then I could create it. Okay, CCTV. Again, we've kind of tried to cover as many as we can. I mean, the security ones are not as extensive as fire. Intruder alarm. Again, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I don't know what that's doing in there. We seem to get these odd little ones appear out of nowhere. So that's your intruder alarm. Your small power, again, you know, I wouldn't use it, but it's there in case I ever do need it. We've got some kind of punch key light in there. And then you move on to the takeoffs, and really, we'll go into more detail in the takeoffs, but that works in a slightly different format in that it's all based on colours and symbols to kind of justify or to represent a different type of device. But I'll go into that in more detail, and we've got all of that for fire and security. And then the last one is this construction items one, which basically if you're missing a door in here, you can, by using the edit tool and go into where are we, PDF content and erase content. So for instance, if I wanted to erase this wall here, I'll just highlight that, and there you go. And then you could just go and put a little single door in there, like so. And maybe you might want to put a nice double door in there as well, and you could in reality scale this as well. So it's quite handy for kind of just making some adjustments to you know, the drawing that you've got. And you know, I've included stairs in there and landings, and we've got some lifts and we've got some airlocks. So again, if you're interested in these tool sets and you want to you know, have a chat, then like I say, leave me a message on YouTube, send me an email, which will be at the end of this video. Connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message, and I'm sure we can do something. They're quite reasonably priced, and again, I can create individual ones if that's required. So look, thanks very much for watching this video. This one's been a little bit longer than some of the others, but hopefully we covered some kind of key points here. And thank you very much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, then please do. If you're just to make sure that you get notified when a new video comes up, please share, you know, the link to this video to people in your industry, people in your business, anybody that's using this software or isn't using it but wants to understand a little bit more about it. You know, I'm not trying to plug the software, but it's very, very good. Check out all my other videos, and I say any comments, any questions, greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching.